Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna Fiesel, and I am your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show. You can find us on television, channel 182 on Charter Communications, Abundant Television syndicated. You can find us on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And don't forget the podcast, thenewscasters.com. And it's a great, great place. I'm going to tell you what, though, if you get your feelings hurt, don't go listen to that podcast. A lot of talk show hosts are on there, and they just speak the truth, and that's just the way it is. So anyway, so glad to be here at the Gadsden Mall. Very glad to be here. And I wanted to say this, Kaylee has taken a job promotion, so she can't be with us on the show. She really wanted to be on the show with you today, Brian. And because she's all into growing things, and she's going to take a Master Gardener's class as soon as you get it in this area. And so anyway, that's why Kaylee's not with us right now, but good for her. And we're going to keep her here as long as we can. She's not going to get outside of this area, I'm telling you. But come to the Gadsden Mall, and all kinds of great things are happening here at Christmas time. There were 100% capacity.
Wow.
Which is unusual for a mall. So she knows what she's doing. That's why she got the promotion. Brian Brown is with me right now. And so he taught the Master Gardener's class. And you're a landscaper. I mean, you do all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I've got a long list of things I do here. So, yeah.
And that's why I love hanging with him for information. And so you were on the show last time. You came to the farm.
Yep.
And so you were showing us how to prune.
Right. So yeah, pruning is still time to prune. And I've gotten a lot of calls about muscadines, how to prune muscadines, and muscadines. And I think I may have mentioned this. It's the kudzu of plants.
It is.
So
Stick in the ground.
You can't kill them. I mean. There's just a lot of things that can be done with those. So, muscadines, you can prune all the way up until they start putting out leaves. So you can wait a pretty good while, and it's actually better to wait a little bit longer. A lot of people are concerned when you cut them, they bleed. It just starts dripping water out.
Mother told me I killed them one time.
I hear that all the time, and it's completely not true. Not true at all. If it bleeds, it's okay. It's just part of its natural.
Because it was overgrown within like 2 months. I mean, it really did not die.
No, it's not going to kill it. So if you're going to prune a muscadine, what you want to do is train it right. You want to start with the trunk from the base of it, and it's going to go up, and then you cut it. And it makes two what's called cordons. And those cordons are kind of the long ones that go across your trellis. Hopefully you've got it on a trellis, Donna.
It is.
Oh, you got it fixed?
The minute you told him, as soon as you left, he took that down.
Okay, good. Well, good. So they're on the right track now.
It was like chicken wire or something.
So yeah, we're, that's the thing is train it up. And then you have what's called spurs. And so on those cordons, you have little spurs coming up, and you want to leave 2 buds on that spur. And they're easy to identify. They're just little, everybody knows what a bud looks like, I hope.
Yeah.
And you leave 2 of those per spur. You can go up to 3 or 4 if you want to, but at minimum 2. And that's, muscadines, your fruit is on new growth. So as long as you got those 2 vegetative buds, that's what's going to produce your fruit. So, any time right now is still great times to prune. Again, we go over the May rule. The May rule is a general rule of thumb, and if you prune, let me start all over. The May rule says if it blooms before May 1st, you prune it after it blooms. So you think azaleas. They're going to bloom next month, more than likely. So if it blooms before May 1st, you prune it after it blooms. So as soon as those flowers drop off on your azaleas or whatever it may be, that's when you prune that plant. If it blooms after May 1st, if it blooms after May 1st, so summertime bloomers, you prune it right now. So anything that blooms in the summertime, you want to prune it right now. So there are a couple of exceptions to that. It's hydrangeas. Hydrangeas, there's 4 different types of hydrangeas that we're mainly concerned with, and 2 are pruned one way and 2 the other. And so, like limelights, do you have any limelights? Okay, so limelights you can prune right now. So if you have a limelight hydrangea, prune it right now. That's called a panicle type hydrangea. The other one is like a mop head. You want to prune those you can prune those at the end of summer, basically, because it sets its. But I would say probably early to midsummer is when you want to do that. Because if you prune those right now, you're not going to have any flowers. So if you didn't have any hydrangea flowers, it's probably because you pruned them off, or they could have gotten hit with a cold snap. You remember we had that big cold snap?
That's right.
Could have gotten damage. So, but yeah, if you have old seed heads, go ahead and chop those off on a hydrangea. But the panicle type and the I can't remember the other type. But the other one is the mop head or the French hydrangeas, some people call them, and the oak leaf. The oak leaf hydrangeas, you want to wait. So yeah.
You know how I am. He knows me by now.
Yeah.
So as Phil was pruning the muscadines, and I was gathering up all of it. I mean, I'm thinking somebody could use a plant. So I went on ahead and rooted them, and they've got little roots coming on the. I mean, so I can't throw anything away. I mean, we've got 38 acres, so I'll find somewhere to
fill it up.
Yeah,
That's right.
absolutely.
There's nothing wrong with that.
But now I was in a pretty rush to do it. I mean,
Right.
as soon as he was cutting them off, I was grabbing them, and I was throwing them in water first, just until I get to the greenhouse, and then I got this root compound you were telling me about.
Right.
Just dipped it in it, and then just stuck it in there, and I'm already getting roots.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. And so that rooting hormone, any kind of woody type plant, even if it's a rose, you can use that rooting hormone on rose.
The lavender, it worked like a charm.
Absolutely.
I've still got 110 plants, by the way.
Wow.
I'm going to have a lavender.
I haven't planted mine yet, but I'm keeping them watered. And so I've got she gave me some lavender and I'm going to plant them. So
I'm tickled. I'm thinking, okay, so I put 120 in there, and I'm thinking, if 5 or 10 of them come up, I'm going to be so happy. And then it's like, wow.
Now you've got a lavender farm.
Well, it's because of your teaching. And so, I mean, and that worked. I mean, it absolutely worked. Let's talk for a few minutes about the classes.
Yeah.
And I know you're going to have some upcoming classes. You've already got a few people here at the ball that are interested.
Yeah. So we're currently in the Master Gardener class. We're meeting in Cherokee County at Center right now. So that's going on, and we're meeting every other week because there's a few people that took it. So in the fall, it probably will be in Marshall County. We hadn't made an announcement yet about where it's going to be exactly. So, but we will have another class in the fall. So. If you're interested, somebody can contact me. They can contact you, and you can forward it to me.
Sure
Either one, we'll be glad to answer your questions about the class. But
and it's worth the travel. I mean, if you're coming in from Gadsden, it's worth it. I mean, you just up the mountain; it doesn't take you long to get there.
Yeah. So we're gonna we cover all different subjects. We'll do things like soil. That's where we start at, is the soil, because that's the basis of everything. We'll start with soil, and we'll go over plant diseases and diagnosis, how to recognize. That's the one I teach, is how to recognize diseases and what's abiotic and biotic stresses. And then, we'll go through pruning and, a lot of different things.
What I found out is I didn't know anything. I thought I knew a lot about gardening, but I learned so much.
Yeah, I think it's worth the money. I'll
tell you now. I wouldn't have told you then, but I would have paid double that.
Well, I wish we'd have known. You're still welcome to pay. No.
That's okay.
But no, we would. We'd love to have as many people as we can get, and it's a fun class. You get to meet a lot of people, and we do things like in my labs, I do irrigation. Remember we did an irrigation lab.
That was fun and much more simpler than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it's not hard at all. And I teach you basics of irrigation.
And you remember that poor little rose?
Yes.
It's doing well now, I hear.
It's incredible. Like, we cut that rose down. It was an old rose, and they were all flipping out because
you killed it.
Yeah, I cut it down to about this tall, and it's actually got roses on it now. It had a ton of roses this past summer. So it's if anybody out there has a rose right now, is the time to prune it. So you want to come down to about 18 inches tall. Even if it's like a knockout rose, prune it to about 18 to 24 inches, and it will grow back. I promise you, it's going to grow back. Don't be scared to cut things. And those things will bloom way, way more than you think they will. So you've got to prune roses and do that. Prune your roses right now. Let me add one thing onto that. Make sure that you sanitize your pruners for roses.
Roses
roses
tell
are
us that 10 times a day. But it's so important.
It is very, very important. So anytime you use, you're going to cut on any roses, you need to spray with alcohol or Lysol even. You can use Lysol wipes, any of that stuff's fine. I just use regular isopropyl alcohol. It's totally fine. Just spray it one time on each side of your pruners and it's sanitized. It's totally fine. But you don't want to spread anything in between plants.
Right, because you could easily do that.
Yeah, especially roses because they have so many fungal diseases.
Yeah.
Once those leaves start dying out, that's when fungus and bacteria and viruses, all that kind of stuff, that's when they start attacking plants. So it may live in those leaves all summer. So, and that's another thing you can do right now is if you have roses, make sure that you clean up around those roses because some of those leaves have probably fallen off
Yeah, that's right.
and those fungal diseases are overwintering in those leaves.
So I shouldn't treat it like it's mulch or anything. Like
Absolutely.
that. Okay.
Yeah, especially on roses. Now, you know, and that goes for any other thing. In the fall, when you start, I get a lot of questions about pecan trees. Well, on pecan trees, there's not a lot a homeowner can do. But if you have a lot of what's called scab on your pecans, you need to rake all the leaves up and burn them or get rid of them because that disease is overwintering in the leaf litter. And that's really goes for anything. You know, a lot of people use leaves for mulch and that's totally fine. But things like that are susceptible to fungal diseases like hydrangeas, especially. Hydrangeas get cercospora.
Mess it up if you put that in there.
That's right. That's right. So, and even your vegetable plants. You know, your vegetable plants, you need like tomatoes. You know, tomatoes get every sickness. They get everything. So if you have a fungal disease on your tomatoes, prune them up. You know, you get your tomato up about 2 foot tall or so. Take those lower leaves and cut them off because what happens is as they drop those lower leaves, there's fungal spores in the mulch or on the ground. And as raindrops or irrigation or whatever you have splashes, it splashes up on those lower leaves. And so eventually that will work its way up and it'll cover your entire plant. So always prune up your tomatoes, make it, maybe 8 to 10 inches from the bottom, and that will keep a lot of your fungal pressures down.
You know I love tomatoes.
Yes.
And I can eat them every day, sandwiches, whatever, by themselves like an apple.
Yeah.
And so I'm so glad there's some things you said, and this was about basically you're pruning all through the summer because you've got to have that airflow in there.
Yes.
And I had tomatoes almost up to Christmas.
Oh, wow.
That
In
was
your greenhouse?
amazing. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, in your
And then
greenhouse.
also, the concrete blocks.
Right.
They loved the concrete blocks.
Yeah. Yeah, you love those concrete blocks.
I like that. Very little weeding is what we're going to do. But we're going to try a different experiment this time. So
Okay.
I'm keeping them, but we're going to make about 4 by 12
Okay.
gardens,
Yeah.
raised gardens out of those. But I'm still going to plant things inside those little holes.
So another thing you might want to do is drip tape. Do you know about drip tape? Oh, okay. So I'm about to change your world now. So
I thought it couldn't be changed anymore.
So, if you've got even if it's a small garden, drip irrigation is so much better than
wait
overhead.
a minute. Yeah, you taught us that.
Yeah. So, but drip tape is a real thin. I wish I had a piece. I would show you what it looks like, and it's cheap. You can get like
Does it almost look like duct tape or something? But
it's about an inch wide, and it's flat. But it's an irrigation pipe, and they have built-in emitters, and the emitter is the part that that it drips out of. And you can get different rates. It'll say a regular sprinkler is measured in gallons per minute. Those are measured in gallons per hour.
Oh.
So it may be 3 gallons per hour or something like that. So, but drip tape is dirt cheap. You can get a roll of 100 feet for I don't even know if they sell 100 feet, but you can get 500 feet for less than $20. I mean, it's dirt cheap.
They speak in my language.
Yeah, it's very, very cheap, and that's actually what the commercial producers use is drip tape.
Okay.
And there's some fittings you have to buy, but for a homeowner, drip tape is a great way to go. It's cheap. You can reuse those fittings. They just screw on. You don't need any kind of glue or anything. You just fit it on there and screw it tight, and it's done. And
So a simple process, and I need that. But now there's one you mentioned, and it almost has a memory, or it knows when it's raining, because we can get we're about to start getting some more rain, by the way.
Yeah.
And so I don't necessarily want it running if I'm on vacation or if I'm
Right.
going somewhere when we're having a bunch of rain coming in. But
Yeah.
you have some of those that actually know that.
Yeah, so those are the controllers. So it's
Okay.
a little box, and it's usually, they've gotten really advanced now. It used to be a mechanical timer,
Yeah.
but now they're all digital timers, and you can set the clock on it, and you can set it to irrigate. The best time to irrigate is in the morning. Early morning, like 4 a.m., 5 a.m., that's the best time to water because that plant will have water to drink all throughout the day. So it's best to water in the morning time. But that controller, and there's various ones, some are cheaper than others, some are really expensive, but a good solid controller might cost you $100, but you actually can get one that fits on your hose, just straight out of the water hose on your spigot, and you can get those for $20 to $30.
Because I think
And they're
that's what I
programmable.
want. I think
Yes.
I want the programmable.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like you can still, even though it's small, if it's running, unless you have a dedicated water line to it, that's what I would get. Just use something on your hose, and you can program it to do. I want to irrigate. 2 times a week or 3 times a week for 1 hour, and you set the clock on it. You set the date, and that's it. Real easy.
Yeah, I think that's what I want to get right there. I think that'll do the job. Now, also, we're talking about watering too much and then not enough. But in the very first class, I think we were talking about tomatoes. It was, they can't get too wet.
Right. They need to be well drained, and a lot of fungal diseases are in the soil already. So if you water too much, you can get some rot. You can get what's called crown rot, and the crown is like the very base of that plant where it starts to come out of the ground. That's the crown. And so you get some crown rot. There's different things that you can get, and if you water too much, that's its favorable environment. So so try to if you have a problem with that last year where your plants were rotting, it's best if you mound it up, and then that way it'll drain out. It's kind of like a sponge. You took a sponge and you flipped it vertically, it drains out. Even though you do it horizontally, the water will stay in there. The same principle applies with soil. I don't want to say dirt because it's soil. Dirt's a dirty word. But it's the same thing with soil. If you can mound that up, that will help with your drainage. And you can also, especially around here, we have a lot of heavy clay soils. You need to amend that. So, take your leaves, compost those leaves, make you a compost pile, and rotate that compost, and you will have good quality compost.
You can't buy it like that.
That's right.
You just can't.
That's right. And there's a ratio, and we can get into some details of that. I'm not real compost savvy, but you do have to rotate it, and the more you rotate, the faster it's going to degrade. But if you have heavy clay soils, that's the thing to use. Don't use sand, because sand and clay make concrete. But if you use organic material, that's perfect. And
I love organic all the way.
Yeah.
Now mine is, and we did the soil test. Now for everybody out there, if you have a garden, if you're even thinking about having one, you need to get the soil test, because I thought we would probably be in a clay area. I didn't know, because my neighbors across the street have clay. I happen to have sand.
Yeah.
And rock.
Yeah.
So Sand Grove. Phil says it should be called Rock Mountain, not Sand Mountain, where we live.
Yeah.
And so, but man, it is the absolutely perfect place for lavender.
Yeah,
Lavender
it is.
loves it.
Yep, that's right. And it drains well. That's the biggest thing. Even if you have sandy soil, I would also recommend using organic matter. And when I say organic matter, I mean like things like leaves that have degraded. You've rotated them, and the bacteria in that soil has broken it down. That's what you need to put on either heavy clay or even sand, because the sand, it drains too much most of the time, and you want some what's called water holding capacity. So when you put in organic matter, you'll have that water holding capacity when you do organic matter. And it's the same thing with clay. Once you get that organic layer starting to build up over the years, that will really help build your soil, and you'll see much better plants.
Well, I'm going to tell you. So we started a compost pile, and so we're old newspapers and cardboard. And I found the trick for the cardboard. So I'm always getting a pair of scissors. It's taking forever to go. So when I know I'm going to put some cardboard into the compost pile, I'll lay it out when I know there's going to be a rain, and I'll let the rain do the work for me.
Right.
Then I just tear it up in pieces and throw it in the compost pile.
Yeah.
That is the most beautiful soil.
Soil, yes.
That I have ever. You can't buy
So
it.
really,
It's beautiful.
compost is not even soil. We call that a soilless mix. So that's another category. So a soilless mix is things like potting mix. That's what that would be. So there's some definitions there that you have to. Soilless mix.
But you still have to be careful what you put in there. You can't put any meat products, no grease, nothing like that in there. Nothing comes from an animal.
Yeah, and going back to using cardboard. Cardboard is fine once it's broken down. I will tell you, be careful with waxy kinds.
We don't put that in there.
Don't put any kind of waxy cardboard in there. Just be mindful about what you're putting in there.
Labels. I take the labels off.
Yes, take all the labels off.
If it's waxy, I throw it in the trash can.
Yes, absolutely.
So then put it out there. But I'm going to tell you, it's beautiful. This is the most beautiful. I mean, it's just wonderful to grow things in. I can't wait to get that on the garden.
Yeah, and like I said, it's good for your soil. Anytime you can build that soil layer, it's great. Cover crops, that's another great one.
Let's talk about cover crops.
Yeah.
I wish I had done that. I just didn't get around to it, this year, but I was going to do that. Clover is a good one.
Clover is great. There's actually several types of clover is probably the most popular. You can do annual rye. Now don't use perennial rye, or you're going to be battling that weed forever. So don't do perennial. It has to be annual rye. You can do one that's called Elbon rye, ELBON. And that's a great one to help build that organic layer. And at the end, like right now, that's when you want to start breaking that stuff down, because it's right before planting, but you want it to have enough time to break down in your soil. So if you have a cover crop,
seeds in there, I mean, would it come back up again?
So
as a weed?
If it's annual, no.
Okay.
That's why you want annuals crops. Most of these cover crops are going to be annuals, so you want to turn that under, and then that will help build that organic layer in your soil. So that's what's important about it.
It's built-in compost, basically.
Exactly. Yeah, you're adding and clover. So what's interesting about clover, and why a lot of people like to use it, is it's called it's called nitrogen fixing, and so the roots of that plant have little what's called mycorrhiza fungi on it, and those mycorrhiza are actually on every plant, and so the more you have of those, the more nitrogen. So I'm getting way really sciencey here.
No, it's good.
But when atmospheric nitrogen has to be converted into a form that's usable for plants. So nitrogen is 70% of our atmosphere, roughly. And what's in the atmosphere, plants can't use it. So it has to break down in a couple of different ways. One is lightning. Lightning will change nitrogen to a usable form by plants. So that's one way they can do it. But we don't know where it's going to strike, right? So that's the thing about that. So the other one
strikes twice, they say.
So the other way is through mycorrhiza fungi. And they are changing that form of nitrogen that can't be used into a form it can be used as. So those mycorrhiza are extremely important for plant life. So the more mycorrhiza you can get on your plants, the better it is. So that's why compost and things like that are very, very important. So.
Absolutely. You know what? Just in time. We've got to go to a commercial break. We'll be right back in just a minute with more wonderful tips. Queen City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. The Hatter Cafe and Country Inn is nestled in the northeast corner of Alabama the Beautiful in the delightful town of Mentone. We're located on top of scenic Lookout Mountain near Little River and DeSoto State Park and located only 5 minutes from shopping and restaurants. There is also a nearby community walking path and golf course. We welcome everyone through the doors, and we are committed to outstanding service for all guests. At the Hatter Cafe and Country Inn, we invite people from all walks of life to come and get away from it all, enjoy the open spaces, treetop views, fresh, clean air, and experience Southern hospitality at its finest. We look forward to hosting you. To reserve a special event, or if you would love a special getaway at the Country Inn, you can call us at 256-634-2018. At Liberty Bank, we're all about community, whether it's to help with a charity fundraiser or help families in need. Toys at Christmas or a local football team, we're here for you. You see, we realize the importance of family. Sometimes it's to build a new home or necessary home repairs. We're here for you. If you like the feel of a small town bank with all the conveniences of a big city bank, we're here to serve you. You will find us at any of our convenient locations in DeKalb, Marshall, Etowah, and Blount counties in North Alabama. You can call and speak with any of our friendly staff at 256-659-2175 or check us out on the web at libertybankal.com. And thank you for your support of our community. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
Are you ready?
We all wonder what tomorrow will bring, but the future lays itself at the feet of the prepared and surrenders to the will of the persistent. It's not easy, but today shapes you so you can shape tomorrow. With Northeast Alabama Community College, when the future asks if you're ready, you can answer
yes.
Begin your future at Northeast Alabama Community College.
At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant. The only place I buy my beef is Lone Tree Ranch in Collinsville, Alabama. Their cattle is born and raised on their ranch, grass and grain fed, and you can feel confident when you serve your family and friends because their beef is all natural and no antibiotics or hormones are added. You can buy whole beef or perhaps go in with family or friends and buy half. Their customer service is number one as they take care of the delivery to their local processor and can deliver to your home for a small added fee. They also offer herd replacement heifers. I always call Lone Tree Ranch in Collinsville, Alabama for my beef specialty recipes and cookouts, and you can too. Food shortages are increasing, so buy local by calling 256-523-6462. That's 256-523-6462. We're back. My name is Donna, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday from 1 to 3 p.m. Central. As Brian and I get to ride home with you in the afternoon. You probably need to be the one driving, though. You probably don't speed like I do. But I will tell you, I was coming into Gadsden this morning, and so I saw a light go off. The first thing you think, oh no, was I speeding? And I looked and I thought, I'm not speeding. I always think they're after me for some reason. He went past me and went on to somebody else.
It's always a scary feeling, though, when you see them behind you.
Because you know your insurance rate is going to go up and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. I've not had a ticket in 20 years, though.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
which is-
good.
yeah.
You don't need to start.
Well, my granddad was a cop.
Yeah.
And he always said, now, you've got a lead foot, I can already tell. And he said, you got to do everything fast. And he said, when they stop you, and I know they will, when they stop you, you just fess up and say I did it.
Yeah.
And almost every single time I've done that, they give me a warning. Because I said, I know I was speeding, I'm sorry. So it's just a little tip for Donna.
Yeah.
It's just from experience I've had. Brown is with us now, and you're my go-to person for anything to do in planting and propagating. And I learned so much about propagating. I mean, it's just and that I don't have to buy plants. I had so much fun when you brought those ferns in,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
and so and then I'm thinking, why am I paying cheap ferns when I can get a nice one
Hmm.
and divide it up and propagate it?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Ferns are probably one of the easiest things to propagate because all you do, if you want to just go to the store and buy a fern,
Mm-hmm.
you can take that fern and divide it up as many times as you
I
want
think we
to.
did it, what, 5?
Oh gosh, we had a ton of ferns, and,
We were fighting over it.
yeah, I mean, and I think I bought 2 ferns.
And it was enough for all of us.
It was enough for everybody. So hopefully everybody took them home and planted some ferns. If you keep them watered and fertilized, they're easy to grow.
Oh, they
Just keep
are
them in the sunshine.
much easier. I think what I did is I was buying the big fern
Yeah.
and not dividing it.
Yes.
And I think that was my problem in the
Yeah.
past.
Yep, and you do need to divide them every year
Mm-hmm.
because if you fertilize and water them like you should, my mom loves ferns. She always hangs them on the
Nothing
porch.
prettier than on a big old porch.
Yeah, and she's she loves them, and she has stored them under the house before, and they
Uh-huh.
survived. They were fine. I probably can't recommend that as an extension agent, but she
But
did
it
that,
worked. Uh-huh.
and I told her every year, I'm like, don't go buy ferns. Take your old ones and divide them, and then grow them out. And she don't want to do that, but.
But
You
good
know,
ones
she's-
are worth
You know
it.
what's funny about that is my mom she has a green thumb and she's so good at propagating succulents.
Mm-hmm.
She loves succulents. We have so many succulents at my parents' house.
Uh-huh.
It's interesting. You go there and her porch is just full of
And
succulents.
my experience with succulents is that there's less weeds around them for some reason.
Yeah.
Why
yeah.
is that?
Most people use a potting mix,
Uh-huh.
and usually those potting mix are sanitary, so they don't have any weed seed or anything like that.
And you can use it. They're
Now-
beautiful ground cover.
Yeah, and here's another thing. People, if they have indoor succulents, one thing we do run into is called fungus gnats.
Oh.
And so if you see little gnats in your house,
I'm not
especially
saying
around your plant,
Uh-huh.
it's called fungus gnats.
Uh-huh.
So now I don't really know how to get rid of them.
I do.
Shouldn't have mentioned them. Oh yeah.
I do. And it's the organic way. And it
Okay.
doesn't cost a whole lot to do it. So you can buy these little strips, and it's like two-sided tape almost, but it's very, very sticky.
Yep.
So if you just put one of those just put one by it, it attracts them.
Yeah.
Because I had some last week, and I thought, I'm getting those organic taste. I found them at the $5 store and 25-cent day.
Yeah.
And so I just bought a bunch of them up.
Yeah.
And it works. And I'm not having to spray anything that's not good
Yeah.
for us in the air.
Yeah. That's great. That's
and they
great.
come to it like a magnet.
It's kind of like the if you have mosquitoes, you can use those little dunks, is what they're called. They're little look like little donuts,
Uh-huh.
and you put those in water, and they're safe. They're actually organic. They're called BT, Bacillus thuringiensis.
Whatever.
But that's what BT stands for. It's actually a bacteria,
Uh-huh.
but it's actually an insecticide. And so you may have heard of BT corn
Uh-huh.
and BT soybeans.
Uh-huh.
It's a natural insecticide that they have inserted the DNA
Mhm.
of that bacterium into
Uh-huh.
that plant.
Mhm.
And so rather than spraying a whole field full of corn, now they don't have to do anything.
Mhm.
So it saves the money and it's organic. Well, it's
Saves a
not
lot of
it's
time,
not
too.
considered organic,
Uh-huh.
because it's a crossbreed or it's been genetically modified, so it can't be considered
Uh-huh.
organic. But BT itself is organic.
Mhm.
So it is an insecticide though. So it saves the farmer a whole lot of money.
Oh,
so
yeah. And time. When you
Oh, yeah.
consider all of that.
yeah, absolutely. So
Let's talk a little bit about seeds.
Yeah.
Because now, and also you're watching from all over the country. So we have different zones. Let's talk about the zones first.
yes. So
Even in Alabama, we're two different zones.
we're actually 4 different zones.
Really?
So
No doubt.
So actually, there's divisions of zones, and they start from 1 to 12, I think, or 13 or 14, something like that. And it's based on it's called the USDA hardiness zone, and it's based on your average minimum temperatures that it could get down to. So it's they have a new map that just got released. I think in December, maybe January. I actually wrote a story about that on aces.edu on our homepage, and it's brand new, and our zones have shifted north. So what's interesting about that, and the climate is changing now. Whether you believe where that comes from, that's your business. However, it is changing. That's a fact. It is changing now. It shifted north because the temperatures that they have observed have been slightly warmer. So we used to be in this part of the world, in Gadsden, we used to be in zone 7B. We are now 8A.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it shifted a little bit north. So we're about 5 or 10 degrees warmer than the last 20 years. So it has gotten a little bit warmer. It's probably due to El Nino cycles and things like that, but it has shifted north a little bit. So,
and then just right up the road, we have what we call Sand Mountain.
Yeah.
And so it's always colder there.
It is, and that's one of the things that's interesting about that map is, there was only one place in all of Alabama that was in 7A. I don't think we have a 7A anymore. It's 7B now. So like Athens. So Athens, Alabama is like right on the border of Tennessee. There was just North Athens, the city of North Athens was a 7A, but now they're 7B. So that's the only one that's different now. So it's down to street level. Now, in reality, that it's not going to matter a whole lot, but there are some things that we can grow. I'm trying to think of how to say this correctly. There's some things that, 20 years ago.
Banana, like, I have a friend in Anniston, Oxford area, who has bananas on his banana tree.
Yeah, and so I would
I tell
say
you, it's all that concrete they have down there.
it could be, and that actually that's a very good point, because some of those things, if you look at that map, and it is street level.
Because you're thinking Birmingham.
Exactly. It's called a heat island effect. It gets hotter when there's a lot of concrete and a lot of asphalt around. Just like in the big cities, there's exhaust, there's things like that raise the temperature a little bit. So it's called a microclimate. So even at your house, my house, your house, we all have an air conditioner or something. That's a microclimate. The side of your house that faces the west, that's a microclimate. So you may be able to grow something on the western side of your house that loves hot weather versus something on the north side of your house that gets that north colder air, the cold wind. You could handle something that's a little bit tolerant to colder weather, like let's say tulips. You don't want to plant a tulip on the western side of your house because it gets hotter, especially if you have brick or something that's reflective. It gets way hotter on that side.
That's where my tulips are.
Yeah, so that's something to...
Do I need to dig them up?
No, leave them alone. Dig them up after they bloom. After they bloom, dig them up and then put them in the fridge.
I need to do that.
Yep. So, but that is something to remember when you're planting the plants. Is I think, and I wrote this in my article. it's more important to pay attention to your microclimate
Uh-huh.
rather than the USDA hardy zone.
I get it.
So it's more important.
I do. I mean, and then you can tell the big difference when you go from Gadsden up to Sun Mountain. I mean, it's just huge.
Yeah.
All country here.
Now, something that's not on the agenda, I don't know if I told you or not, but I have an announcement for you. I am now a certified arborist. So I don't know if I've told you that yet.
No doubt.
So so
That's great.
yeah, so it's a pretty big credential to have as a certified arborist, and I took my test a few weeks ago, and I think I've done that since the last time we talked. But it's
Congrats.
thank you. It's something I wanted to do, and we got a grant to pay for it, which is even better
yeah,
because
that's
it's
even
expensive.
better.
It's like
Yeah.
$400 or $500 to take.
Oh, okay. So now that you're an arborist, I've got a question for
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
So we were living in Charlotte, North Carolina, and so I had a store, and it also had a talk show there as well. But where the store was, there was this old tree, and it was so obvious this thing was hollowed out.
Mhm.
But now it was considered a historic tree.
Yes.
And they would not cut it down.
Yep.
And because of that, but every time the wind blew, you were so afraid this thing was going to fall
Right.
on top of you. Finally, somebody took it to court and they had the tree removed.
Mhm.
A businessman did that.
Yep.
So there are laws sometimes that are in effect that just make no sense, especially when it comes to a tree
So-
like that. Yeah, I mean, I was afraid if I knocked on the tree, and it was huge. This thing it was a hanging tree back in the, and it was white people that were messing around on their wives. So that's what it was. And
Yeah.
so, but this thing was huge. But you could just look and you could just see the hollowness inside that tree.
So what's interesting about trees is they have a mechanism that's natural called compartmentalization. And so if let's say this arm is a tree trunk and you wound my arm, eventually it will cause what's called a canker, which is kind of like a sunken in place, and it could eventually rot. When that tree is wounded, the first response of that tree is to do what's called coated or compartmentalization of decay in trees. And that's what coated stands for. And so there's 4 different zones, and that tree will actually start making specialized cells around that wound and close it off. And so that tree it won't heal itself, but it will cut off that portion of that tree. And what's interesting about that is if you've ever seen a wound on a tree, how it kind of curves and makes this little rounded part around that, that's actually the strongest part of that tree. So if it's at the base of that tree, even though it may be rotten on the inside or it's hollowed out, those buttress roots hanging there is actually the strongest part of that tree because it's been compartmentalized. Now I will say, if you do have rot on your tree, if you have mushrooms growing on your tree or you have ants in your tree,
Cut it down.
it's a goner.
Really?
I'm sorry, but it's,
I haven't
So
seen
you
that.
have to, because fungi only grows on decaying material, and ants only will come into your tree if there's rot because they can chew on it and make a little bed in there. So if you have ants or mushrooms, you may want to get it checked
Sure
out.
sign.
It's a sure sign. So it's almost a goner. So I won't say it is a goner, but you better be making plans for its funeral. So you better be pre-paying
Well,
its
let me ask you
funeral.
this. So if you can find a good limb on it, could you propagate it?
Absolutely. Yeah, you can, and that's the thing about propagation is it's free plants. So
I like free. That's always
so
mine.
you can
How much
you
did that cost? Is always my second sense.
yeah, and on a tree, on a woody tree or shrub, you can do air layer. We've talked about air layering. Where you take you wound part of that limb and you wrap sphagnum peat moss around it, and then wrap a little saran wrap around there, some plastic wrap around it. Seal it off with those pipe cleaners, the little fuzzy wires, and seal it off for about 8 weeks, and then there'll be roots. You'll be able to see the roots on it. Some people cover it with foil, and that's fine too. And that actually, it's good to cover it with. So put the saran wrap on there, then cover it with foil, and that way it develops roots from that wound. And then you come back a few weeks later and you chop it on the other side of that, and then you can plant that like a tree.
I'm laughing because Cheryl Baker is a friend of mine, and so we tell each other we wear these little tinfoil hats. We tell each other that all the time. So I was at her farm and I saw tinfoil on the trees, and I'm going, "Oh boy, tinfoil hats are coming out on your trees." And she said, no, there's a science behind that.
That's right.
So
She's exactly right.
Yeah, she's right. So
Yep, absolutely. Yep. So
that's a great way to set. So like maybe you set a tree out and you wish you hadn't set it there, but you can't take the tree down.
yeah.
It's a good way to move it. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
in a
and,
sense.
it'll be small for a little while, but I mean it's just like buying a new tree, and
Mhm.
it's totally fine. So if you have a tree that you like, I mean we did that with the tumors oaks after that crazy guy
Uh-huh.
poisoned all the trees down in Auburn.
I
We
remember
actually
that.
took cuttings of
Uh-huh.
that tree
Uh-huh.
from the there was a stump there for a while,
Uh-huh.
and it had new sprouts coming up, and so we went up there and we harvested sprouts. All the sucker growth that come up. We went up there, we rooted them, and we sold those things for $150 a piece.
By the way, you want some
And
blueberry?
we sold a
trees? You want
lot
some
of 'em.
blueberry bushes.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
you remember all those little sprouts that were coming
Mm-hmm.
up, so I propagated those.
Good.
I went on and whacked them, and so I've now got a whole bunch of blueberries I'll never use, but I just can't throw them away.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
find somebody that wants some. And
You're going to have to go to the farmer's market.
I'm going to have to. That's what Phil says. I guess you're planning on going to the farmer's market to
Yeah.
sell all this stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm going to plant a lot of stuff too. But I mean, it's free. I mean, it's right there. I can't.
Yeah, it's just the knowledge of doing it. And, we do have a propagation class coming up. We have 4 of them.
Okay.
One will be in Calhoun County, in
That's the
Anniston.
whole neck of the woods.
Yeah, and then we'll have one in, I think it's in Huntsville.
Uh-huh.
We'll have one in Winston County, in Double Springs, and we'll have one in Clanton. So we've
Uh-huh.
got 4 different choices. We're kind of doing a round robin tour of all
I
of
think
North
I'm
Alabama.
going to go to the one in Calhoun County and see
Yeah.
some of
Yeah, so we're going to learn how, and I don't know how to do this, but my coworker, he is a commercial horticulture agent. He's going to teach you how to propagate tomatoes, and we're going to graft tomatoes.
Oh, graft them?
Yep.
I gotta go.
Yeah.
I gotta
So
go. About when's that gonna be? I'll look on the website. And
yeah, it's on the website. I think it's April 10th, maybe. So it's going to be coming up in about a month and a half.
Okay, I gotta go.
And we're going to do one every week. So we'll be at one of those 4 locations. We've got a lot going on. So.
You'll see me coming, you'll go, oh no.
But it is interesting. We actually took a tour. Our team did. We took a tour in North Carolina, and
One of my other favorite places.
yeah, it was just outside of Asheville. It was just outside of Asheville.
Beautiful.
And-
did you go to the McDonald's? There's
I
a
have seen it.
McDonald's
I've
at
seen it.
Biltmore, and they would not let them put it there unless it was like a replica of the Biltmore.
Yeah. Well, I have seen it though. But yeah, we had we took a tour there of a company that propagates. They graft watermelons, and so the guy was telling us that they most of their customers are in California because that's where everything grows.
Yeah.
They said that they have increased their watermelon fruit load by 11 times.
11 times?
Yeah. Yep. And all it was they took a hardier rootstock. And that's what happens when you graft things. You take a hardy rootstock that's resistant to diseases. It's got better water uptake. It's got different, it inherits the roots. So whatever you put on top of that, it inherits those characteristics from the roots, which is interesting. There's a lot of principles in that, but I thought that's pretty interesting. But they propagate those watermelons that they wanted on that hardy rootstock, and they have increased their fruit load by 11 times.
Wow,
So
that's
that's-
some great information.
So
right
yeah,
there.
it's expensive. It's very expensive to do. It has to be done in a very sterile, very clean environment. They have a clean room. They had ladies with full suits on. But it's really neat how they do that, and the fact that, gosh, they're doing
It's amazing.
hundreds of thousands of cuttings. But that's where your watermelons come from grafted
That is so
rootstock
amazing.
in Asheville, North Carolina.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's when you get into the science of plants, it's so in depth, and there's so many careers out there. So if you have a young person that loves science, they can do plants, and they can do genetics. There's tons of jobs in genetics. There's a lot of opportunity for it. You don't have to be a landscaper. You don't have to be a farmer. I'm not. And
He's a landscaper.
but you can do so many jobs. There's a business side of things. There's design, social media, all those. There's plenty of jobs out in horticulture. So if you have someone that is interested in science, but they want to work with the natural plants and things, horticulture is a great way to go.
It's wonderful. So I have a cousin, her name is Maddie, and it actually talked about this on one of the shows that I produced last week. And so she brought these tomatoes to me, and I've never had tomatoes like these before. She didn't know what kind they were. She said, it's just from some old seeds I had a long time ago. And I said, these are the best tomato sandwiches I've ever had. So I saved the seeds. And so I have some of those coming up. I'm so excited about this. They're kind of an orangey looking, reddish looking, weird looking. There's a lot of meat, very little seeds to them. So I'm glad I learned how to do that. But it's so important that you let the seeds dry completely.
Yep. We actually, we produced a video very recently. It's not released yet, but we've got a video coming out on seed saving. And it teaches you how to save perennial seeds and tomato seeds. So there's actually a technique where you take your tomato seeds, you take your tomato, pull the seed out, all the gel and all that, and you put it in a little bit of water, and that will actually mold over. And that's good because what it does is the old stuff will float and the good seeds will sink to the bottom.
Okay.
So you do that for about 5 to 7 days, and then you pour off all the nasty stuff, and then you're left with the good seeds, and those are more viable.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Okay, so we don't know exactly when we're going to have a frost. It's going to happen sometime.
It's going to happen again.
So
don't plant anything yet.
Don't do it, and I'm itching to do it.
Yeah.
But don't do it right now. So, but when should you plan on actually planting your seeds to get ready to plant?
Right now. If you should be doing that right now. If you have any
You
kind of
don't have to start in
seed,
January.
start up. Yeah, you want to. I was about to say it's a little bit too late to get some of that started, but you can still. It still has a little bit of time. You may be a little late. There's some arguments that can be made that it's actually better to wait. Because you don't face as many disease pressures.
Oh, okay.
So
see, I can't wait.
it's still okay. You can still start
But
your
if you
seeds.
have a raised garden, it's a little more safe.
Yeah, it is. It is.
That's where so much about disease.
Yeah. So there's a lot of arguments back and forth about when you should do this, but we actually Extension has an app you can download called SOW, S-O-W. You can just look at it on your app store on your phone, and what's cool about it is it will tell you what to plant. And so I don't know how I can't get a signal, but actually it come up. Can I point it at the camera and show what it looks like? So this is what it looks like. Let me see if I can get it to focus here. But it's called SOW, S-O-W, and it's a great app, and it tells you exactly when you can plant things. You can start your own little garden in here, and you can say, okay, I want to plant eggplant and tomatoes and watermelon and squash, and you add that into your plant, and it tells you I planted it on this day, and it will tell you, it'll give you like a, hey, it's time to harvest. So it kind of gives you estimated time to harvest.
Wonderful. And I have downloaded it, I believe. So
yeah, so that's a great.
That's a great one. Okay, we have 2 minutes left in this segment.
Yeah.
What would you like to tell the folks before we go?
Well, wait. Don't plant just yet. Don't get antsy.
He's talking to me.
Don't get antsy, Donna. And if anybody has any questions about plants or anything, feel free to give me a call. My number is 256-558-8129, or you can email me. I like text messages, so if you've got a picture of something you want to diagnose what it is, you'll feel free to text me a picture. You can also email me, brownbw@auburn.edu. And if you're interested in any classes that we have not just Master Gardeners. We do other things. We're doing the propagation class. We're even doing a street tree. So if any municipalities want to, learn about street trees, we're going to do that in the fall in Birmingham.
That'd be a good idea.
Yeah. So we're gonna partner with some other people, and it'll be a pretty big deal. So lots of classes out there. We got a pruning workshop. I'm going to do one more of those in Cherokee County. So lots of stuff happening. We're really busy. It's the spring. It's going to get busier. So,
and you can't. He's right. You can't kill a tree. I mean, we've not been able to do it. And I'm going to tell you what. The tree, you could practically see our fruit trees going. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I mean, they look so much healthier already.
Yeah.
Brian, thank you so much for being
Absolutely.
with me.
Absolutely.
Always so much fun. And it's always so much fun being with you too, every day, Monday through Friday, 1 to 3 p.m. Central. Now that's Central time for you folks who live somewhere else. But again, thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Jeff McCurdy of the McCurdy Law Firm has been a public service of this area for over 10 years. McCurdy, a member of the Henniger City Council, serves as prosecutor for the town of Sylvania and was named public defender for the city of Rainsville. The McCurdy Law Firm is located at 17326 Alabama Highway 75 in Henniger to better represent his Jackson and DeKalb County clients. If you need to be represented by a true public servant with proven success, call Jeff at 256-996-8701 or send a private email to mccurdylawfirm@gmail.com. No representation is made that the legal services performed is greater than the legal services performed by other lawyers.
My Towels solved the problem that we've all had with towels. You go into the stores and they feel lotiony and soft, but then you get them home and they wind dry you. That's why I made My Towels. They actually work, they're soft, and they absorb. And now I'm excited to announce 2 brand new lines of My Towels. What makes them the best towels ever is they're now made with 100% long staple Shapir cotton. This is a combed ring spun cotton that makes My Towels even softer and more absorbent than ever. And now you get a 6-piece set for an amazing introductory sale price as low as $29.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get My Towels for only $29.98. Or you can get my designer premium line for just $20 more. Either way, you save 50% now on all My Towels. They actually work. What a concept. This offer won't last long, so please order now.
MyPillow.com.
Twin City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. The Hatter Cafe and Country Inn is nestled in the northeast corner of Alabama the Beautiful in the delightful town of Mentone. We're located on top of scenic Lookout Mountain near Little River and DeSoto State Park and located only 5 minutes from shopping and restaurants. There is also a nearby community walking path and golf course. We welcome everyone through the doors and we are committed to outstanding service for all guests. At the Hatter Cafe and Country Inn, we invite people from all walks of life to come and get away from it all, enjoy the open spaces, treetop views, fresh, clean air, and experience Southern hospitality at its finest. We look forward to hosting you. To reserve a special event, or if you would love a special getaway at the Country Inn, you can call us at 256-634-2018.